Hello and welcome to the live Packaging Impressions and Printing Impressions webinar, Disruptive Digital Printing for Label and Packaging. Can Inkjet do it again? Sponsored by Screen. I'm Cory, Editor-in-Chief of Packaging Impressions and the host of today's event. And just a quick note, I'm just on audio for the moment. I'm having some technical difficulties with my webcam, but I'm hoping to reconnect that in a second here to join the rest of our panelists. But for now, I'm just going on audio. But we do have a great event lined up for you today, and we'll be talking about one of the most exciting technologies to hit the scene in packaging. And that, of course, is inkjet printing. As we've all seen in recent years, digital print technology has become an important part of label and packaging production, and Inkjet has emerged as an exciting platform that can open up several opportunities for printers and converters. Before we get started, however, let me just take a second to point out the resources widget at the bottom of your console. It looks like an open book. If you missed the Tech Tips video that we played leading up to the webinar, you can always click this widget to access our Tech Tips PDF, as well as other webinar resources. One other quick reminder, at the end of today's webinar, we should have some time remaining for an audience Q&A session. So please feel free to send in questions for our speakers at any point during the webinar, and we will be sure to have them ready at the end. So for today's webinar, we'll first welcome on Mark Schlimme, Vice President of Marketing at Screen. Mark will take us through an informative look at the latest advancements in inkjet technology and how these systems are leading to exciting opportunities throughout the label and packaging world. Following Mark, I'm very excited to have Paul Donovan with us today. Paul is the Digital Production Specialist at Lion Labels. Lion Labels is a label printing and converting company located near Boston and has been at the forefront of production inkjet technology in its market. And Paul will be joining us for a conversation about the company's experiences with inkjet and the advantages that it has brought to the table for Lion Labels. So first, I just wanted to go through a quick update here in some of the major packaging segments, just to provide a very, very quick overview of what inkjet is bringing to the table. So in the label segment, we're seeing high-speed, high-quality production coming from the inkjet side of things, as well as high durability labels requiring high performance. That's something that inkjet is really providing for the digital label world, is that really high durability. We're seeing that in industrial spaces and market segments in that realm has been a real advantage. We're also seeing inkjet integrated into some hybrid systems that offer the best of both worlds production. And by hybrid, I'm referring to inkjet and flexographic platforms that incorporate both technologies into a single system, where printers and converters can utilize both of those printing platforms to produce some really interesting output on those platforms. In the folding carton realm, again, we're seeing some high-speed, high-quality production coming from inkjet, and some strong throughput capabilities that provide short and mid-length runs, which has been really interesting to see. So often in digital printing, we think of short-run production as really being the advantage, but with some of the throughput capabilities that we're seeing on inkjet systems, that can really push into the mid-length realm to really, get those volumes on digital even higher than what the industry may have been used to in the past. We're also seeing excellent quality, like I mentioned before, which provides luxurious appearance for high-end brands. And in the folding carton realm, that's really been something that's been great to see. Folding carton is such a luxury type of package, where we're seeing lots of cosmetics brands really embrace paperboard packaging, and that inkjet quality can really compete with offset in that world and provide some really great high-end luxury paperboard folding cartons in digital. Flexible packaging has also seen some really interesting output with inkjet. It is still in its early stages, but it's demonstrating some really strong potential, and we've seen some platforms hitting the market recently. It provides some high-speed production, which, like I mentioned before, brings that mid-length digital production into flexible packaging, whereas in digital, again, we typically think about short run. But with inkjet, that's really pushing out further into some mid-length and even long-run digital flexible packaging output. And it's really been lowering barriers to entry for brand owners into entering the flexible packaging segment, which has previously relied on conventional long-run printing. Something that we're really seeing across the packaging realm is consumers reaching out to those artisan, boutique, craft type of brands, and really supporting those smaller brands that may not need the volume of some of their large-scale counterparts. And with digital printing and inkjet, those brands have really been able to move into flexible packaging, which consumers have also really been strongly moving towards, as it provides portability, convenience, resealable attributes, food freshness, and all of those great advantages. So lots of exciting things on the horizon for inkjet and flexible packaging. And then finally, a quick update on the corrugated segment, where some really interesting things are happening as well in inkjet. We've seen preprint and post and direct print solutions emerging onto the market, which has been really great to see, bringing digital capabilities into both areas. Post-print solutions, which have been really exciting, have become available in multi-pass and single-pass formats, providing some real great output and technological solutions there in the corrugated segment, with lots of new opportunities emerging there. And it's really allowing for high graphic corrugated production and variable personalized printing for consumer engagement. So for things like e-commerce, rather than just that plain brown box that we've been seeing arriving on consumers' doorsteps, with some of these inkjet platforms, you can really get some high graphic and even personalized stuff onto corrugated shipping containers that consumers are then receiving at home, really extending that brand experience in a more personal way. So that's just a quick update on some of the major packaging segments and how inkjet has been impacting them. So for a much deeper dive into inkjet, I'd now like to welcome on Mark Schlimme from Screen to provide us with a deeper look into the world of inkjet and labels and packaging. So Mark, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Cory, and thanks to Packaging Impressions and everybody for joining in today. So thanks for teaming me up there a little bit. Again, my name is Mark Schlimme. I'm Vice President of Marketing for Screen Americas. We are the store, sales and service store really for Screen Graphics and Productions Group. And so I'll get into a little bit about who Screen is. If you're not familiar with Screen in this market and other markets, I want you to come away today with a slightly better understanding. I'll only spend a couple minutes on that. So then to kind of scope out where we'll go, we'll look at some product today, some Screen technology, but really the focus for me today is to kind of look at some disruptive factors that are in the print market today, both from the supply side and from what I would call the consumer side, and why there is a convergence right now that lead to a point in the product life cycle for inkjet on this label and packaging side where we're at the front end of some disruption. And I can share some of the experience that Screen has seen in other print markets that now seem to be repeating themselves. So just a little commercial about Screen, because I think it helps understand how we play in the market. So if you do have familiar with Screen, it's probably in the graphics and production group, but that's just one part of a much larger business. So Screen Holdings is a holding company, really an R&D and manufacturing company based in Japan. So publicly traded, well capitalized, nice sized business, playing in markets that are what I would call fine tech, and now moving into life sciences. So you can here look, in addition to the graphic arts equipment, we play in markets for manufacturing for semiconductor chips, flat panel glass display, printed circuit boards, and then again we're moving into some technologies for health and energy. Really, in all those industries, we're manufacturing equipment, right? So we're building the machines that manufacturers are using to either build the semiconductor chips, clean and anneal the silicon, stack the chips, etch the printed circuit boards. The companies that are making PCBs and semiconductors and the flat panel displays such that are on your phone, for instance, or on an iPad, they're using our equipment. The same in life sciences as we move into energy and health. We are researching and developing and then manufacturing equipment that's used in the production of battery technology, lithium-ion battery technology, or pharmaceutical and health for life sciences. So a variety of markets, but I am with Screen Americas, which again is the store for North America. You can see here just a quick representation of really the markets that we serve. So starting on the left, the upper hand corner there, we have been in production class continuous feed inkjet manufacturing since really 2002, and then really launched in 2007. So we play in markets such as commercial print, book printing, direct mail, transactional printing, which is your statements that you get, your invoices, medical documents, that kind of thing. And 5 years ago, we moved into the label space with the UV digital press. There in the middle, you see the L350 UV. That is our latest model in the label space, and it's what Paul will talk about his experience with later. We have been in the graphic arts for a long time in computer to plate and scanning, #1 market share in that for quite some time. Down on the left, then and on the bottom row, you can kind of see, you look at some expansion into some new markets for us, primarily in the label and packaging space. The CPG space is big for Screen going forward. On the left, you see the TruePress Pack 830. That's a flexible packaging press. That will go. That'll launch globally with the first install next year, and we should see it in North America shortly thereafter. On the right-hand side, you see the photo there is of the Speed Set. Another Screen subsidiary based in Cambridge, UK, is Inca Digital. So Inca has played for quite some time now in the corrugated board market, the POP market, and Screen has collaborated with Inca on a platform for folding carton and corrugated board in the production space. Both the PackJet press and the SpeedSet press are playing in production spaces, fitting production markets. So again, I'll get into a little bit of that, but really today is more a look at the disruption that we see happening in the label and packaging segments, and what we have seen previously in our other markets, such as commercial print, publishing, and direct mail. Really, there's two sides of the coin, right? So Cory got into some of the disruption that we see in inkjet printing technology, and that's always happening. We've seen that happen in our other markets. So there's always improvements in speed, improvements in quality, developments in ink technology, even addressable materials, and you have to have that for the equation to work. That's the one side of the coin, but really the other side of the coin is what really creates the disruption. So you can have the technology, but if you don't see some things happening in the market, such as changes in the supply side, changes in the consumer side, even regulatory space, when you put the two together, that's when we see disruption. And we saw that in other markets such as commercial print, direct mail. In those markets, really print is declining in general, what I would call conventional print, analog print, but digital print and certainly inkjet printing as a share of that is increasing dramatically. We see some similar things happening in the market. So just talking about the things that we're seeing in the markets. So some disruption factors specifically in label and packaging. This is not groundbreaking for all of us, and we see it in a lot of areas of our life, but certainly in the label and packaging space. So the brands, really what I would call the supply side. So that might be that's both the brands and the marketers, but also how they go to market. So it could be the retailers, it could be online. So we see a proliferation in SKUs. We see more things being packaged. Even previous products such as fresh produce, which was unpacked. Now we're seeing packaging across all kinds of segments. Let me catch myself up a little bit. We see a movement in private labeling, customization, and packaging for the big box stores, a movement to buy in larger bulk, multi-packs, large packs. We see some factors in the going to market, right? So there is a requirement now to get markets or to get products to market faster, whether it's new concepts, whether it's prototyping, whether it's promotional printing, where you're taking advantage of events or maybe seasons or even geography. So we're really seeing some shifts in the supply chain. And I think everybody kind of experiences that today. Then there's this continuing to develop a concept of sustainability. And I'll look at that into some depth, but certainly the consumer and the brands are requiring a more green approach, a smaller footprint on the environment. All that trickles down into packaging. Really from the consumer side, so I think this would be intuitive to a lot of us, but we're seeing it kind of escalate, right? So especially with COVID and the recovery coming out of the pandemic, we'll look at some factors in that space next. But people are even the consumer then they're looking for packaging and products that are packaged that convey to them a sense that there's a sustainability, there's more renewable materials. So you're looking for convenience. The consumers are looking for more mono packaging, right? So this mobile life that we live, we're looking for more single unit packaging. There's a movement really to buy local. I think everybody kind of sees some of that, and that kind of results in an escalation of brands as well, more shelf space. Brands are trying to get that shelf space, and they're trying to get it with the same classification of product, really marketed in a variety of ways. So whether it's from the supply side or the consumer side, we're seeing these factors kind of converge. And then if you bring in the printing technology, you bring them, you've got the disruption. Of course, I would touch in the digital space what is so unique about digital printing, and Paul, I think, talks about this some. If not, we can, I apologize, but we were talking about it before we got on the webinar. There really is, the consumer is expecting more engagement today from their brands, a more personal connection. So, and some of that's being driven by what can happen with digital, be it via the digital print technology or the e-commerce, but certainly the consumer is really expecting more of an engaging experience, and the brands are then reacting to that. And so the print providers in this space really they need to be able to say, yes, we can do it, and then work with the brands on those campaigns that are perfect for digital and are complex. The X factor really then is COVID, and some of this material is from the Flexible Packaging Association. So really kind of seeing some changes in supply and changes in demand. So it was interesting to me to kind of review the latest reporting and just see how some of this follows some common sense because of the pandemic, but also really some surprising things. Maybe some shifts away, for instance, from a personal products, beauty products, and hygiene products as we all work from home, but then an increase in that for instance, like shower and bath products. So you've got the same brands are seeing parts of the market go down, and then the other side of it is increasing just with the changes in behavior. But there's also even changes in how we're buying, right? So there's an emphasis on a multi-packs, right? So as people reduce their trips to the store, they're buying more in bulk. You see much more ready for retail packaging at that point. You still see more packaging for single dose or single use products within the multi-pack. So what all this is doing is really driving not just disruption, but changing the form that packaging takes, right? So all of it is resulting in shorter runs, faster time to market. Then you see the specialty projects where you have demand for customization or even promotional or personalization, which only digital can meet at that point. So really that the COVID has been the X factor. And then one little point that we are really seeing right now that I think is driving some disruption towards digital is really labor. The ability to find skilled operators for conventional analog presses and manufacturing equipment, it's getting more and more difficult. And on the back end of that, as you have the population of labor aging out, you put the two together, that you can't find the new workers, you can't find the replacement for the experienced workers. The providers are looking for equipment and printing technology that is easier to run, that requires less of the artisan or craftsman approach, and digital print definitely fits that description. With digital equipment, you're able to run more presses, more different kinds of printing and finishing equipment in all these markets with fewer operators. So the X factor in this, when you look at the supply side, the consumer side, and then you add in what's happened, changes in behavior because of the pandemic, we are seeing some disruption coming. Some figures here, and it's not so much important to focus on the exact specifics, but this is revised estimates from FPA. And if you just kind of look at the categories where now they're seeing or they're projecting growth, and they're projecting negative growth as well. So you think about how our lives have been impacted, and we kind of see that. So there is significant growth opportunity in these markets that are in the blue right there. So I thought this was interesting to see which direction the packaging, label and packaging opportunities are moving. And folding carton, the same thing. These were pre-COVID numbers, but I don't see why they would go in the other direction. So we see an increase in folding carton and corrugated board printing overall. That's the bar graph, but inside of that then is the growth of digital. One of the things that I think I didn't talk about was really the change in that consumer experience, the desire for the reveal, right? So the marketers are creating packaging that is multi-experiential. When you receive the package in the mail that you've ordered from the website, you want that full experience of unpackaging and revealing the product even before you get to the label and packaging of the product itself. So that's what's really behind. A lot of that is what's behind the growth here in folding carton and corrugated board as well. But we're not there just yet, I guess. And here's where I wanted to kind of talk about what will it take to really move into that space where digital starts to make the same impact in this space that we have seen in commercial print and our other markets. So this little slide is just a representation of what we see in the product life cycle of any digital equipment. And again, we saw this on our other platforms. On the far left there, where we see emergence, that's kind of where we are right up until today. So we saw inkjet and we saw toner, but really the applications for those were very small. Boutique runs, maybe some high-end promotional, maybe some prototyping. But as inkjet develops, we see that curve start to shift more steeply up towards the production space that are occupied now by Flexo, by Gravure, and by Offset. And that's where that's where Screen is coming in with those two products that I talked about on that first slide in the flexible packaging and the folding carton space. So digital inkjet today is undergoing rapid development, and we're there with quality. We're there with substrate handling. We're there on scale. There is some small improvements still to be made on ink technology. So as inks move more towards aqueous, water-based inks that are more sustainable, more environmentally friendly, more addressable in a variety of packaging. So, right, you get into the consumer space, you need inks that are safe and sustainable. There is still development ongoing in head technology that'll really let us drive those inks to the substrate, and then drying technology continues to develop. And small incremental changes in those three categories, as you see there, will really drive the digital technology ahead, because we're in that point in the curve where it starts to move steeply. And when you take what's happening in supply and consumer behavior, that the factors that are driving runs and time to market down, combined with the technology that is able to meet that, you're going to drive digital into spaces that were previously occupied by more conventional technologies. And so that's where we live today, right in that pink bubble and moving to the right and further up and higher into the production curve. Some things are going to have to change, right? In addition to the just technology, there's some probably, I think it's fair to say, in the provider space, there's some mindset. Paul might talk about that some today. So digital print really requires a digital mindset, not only from the provider, but from the brands and the buyers as well. So there is a shift in how you're thinking about what people are printing and what the brands are producing, how they're communicating to their markets. So there's going to be required some changes in that side as well. And I attempt to capture some of that as well. There's just, and I think overall, you just think about digital print is going to require a digital mindset, digital for consumption, digital for the shopping experience. It's a change from long runs, a price per point perspective, and a shift into really more of the value of the unit or the revenue achievable by each unit. So it's a real shift in thinking about cost per piece to value per piece. But there is opportunity even now, and so I kind of touch on some of that here, right? So it's really about increasing the production capacity and the efficiency of these shorter runs that the brands are requiring in faster time. So all these factors play into that. Today, this work is not profitable on conventional technology, and that's really what this representation here, this comparison down below looks at. It's very hard to be profitable at these shorter runs, even if those shorter runs look like big numbers. Digital provides the efficiencies and the productivity to get to those higher runs at much better margins. And of course, what digital then also brings is really the ability to kind of embrace that power of each individual unit carrying a custom message. So just some examples here off the PAC 830 of really being able to take advantage of customization, regionalization, seasonality, even some variability in images. This is what the digital technology can do. It's what it's done in these other markets. That's going to really take the mind shift change in the brands and the marketers to start thinking about how they can take advantage of what this digital technology brings them. So that is, I do have some slides. I'm going to, Paul Donovan here with Line Label will give an introduction of himself. He's going to talk about their experience with our label press. I'm going to watch the chat. If people do have questions about the specific technology that Screen is manufacturing in this space, we can talk about some of that today. The better venue for that would be for you to get in contact with us and then sit down with our product manager team and our sales team to talk about specifically what's available today in these emerging production spaces. So I think I'll wrap it up from there. I think I'm okay for time. Cory, if you're back, you can introduce Paul here, or if you're not back.
No, I'm here.
Okay, excellent.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much, Mark. That was an excellent look at all of the exciting things happening in inkjet technology and with Screen. So thank you for that really deep dive into this, very, very exciting technology. So yes, unfortunately, my video just does not seem to want to connect. So apologies for that, but my audio does seem to be going well. So we're going to move now into a conversation here with Paul Donovan from Lion Label in Easton, Massachusetts. And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Lion Label's experience with inkjet technology. So Paul, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome on.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, Paul, just to start out, before we dive into your experiences with inkjet, could you just give us a quick introduction to yourself and to Lion Label?
Well, I've been here at Lion Labels for about 10 years now, and the company's been around for over 50 years, which is quite a long time. When I came on board 10 years ago, I was running HP. Then we went over to toner-based technology, and with great results. But now with the experience of the this inkjet is just it's incredible. The speed, the quality, and just out of control. Love it.
Absolutely. Perfect. Excellent. So, before we dive into, talking about inkjet specifically, though, I did want to just take a step back and, talk about digital printing just in general. It's such an exciting technology, and it's really been blossoming in the label and packaging space in recent years. So, before we dive into the specifics of inkjet, Paul, I wanted to just see if we could talk a little bit about what were some of the driving factors behind Lion Label's decision to move into digital. Just, taking that step back, what were some of those factors about digital printing that led the company to want to, move into that technology?
It's similar with most other companies on multiple SKUs, shorter runs, faster time to market. All of that factored into the decisions that were made before I got here. But my experience with digital printing, toner-based technologies, and things of that nature made me a good fit here. And it's just grown exponentially since the True Press has come on board. And it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you mentioned that you had been using toner technologies previously, and now you're utilizing the True Press and the inkjet. So, what were some of the factors then that led you towards the inkjet and the True Press in particular? Just, what were some of the driving factors that moved you specifically to inkjet and really dive into that platform? Well,
the learning curve to run toner-based machines is a lot higher than it's going to be on the inkjet. Consumables on the toner-based machines, there are drums, there's photoreceptors, there's wires, there's corona charts, there's a lot of stuff to maintain that doesn't exist on the True Press. Also, the format. One of the biggest things of the format, we had constantly run a 13-inch web across our toner-based machines, and to go any more narrow than that, we would have had to incur a lot of expense and to go back into a 13-inch format. A lot of waste in material, a lot of waste in time. And the True Press lets us print about 13 and a quarter, all the way down to 6 inches, I believe, and everything in between. So that's really, really good for us to utilize our substrate with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge advantage. So, just kind of sticking on this topic then, and thinking about the markets that Lion Label serves, were there any, specific market drivers towards your decision to move into inkjet? Anything in terms of, what customers may have been looking to do with some of their labels, or any kind of market segment specific opportunities that really lent themselves toward inkjet and kind of help drive that decision to invest? Because what we've seen in covering the market here in the label and packaging space is that different market segments can do some really specific and unique and interesting things with digital and with inkjet in particular. So, just thinking about Lion Label in particular, were there any, market-driven, drivers that that led you in the inkjet direction specifically?
It's really growth with our customers, specifically nutraceuticals, the beverage market, which has gotten very, very, very busy, and just being able to produce those runs much faster than we've been able to do in the past. It would have been a real problem had we not brought on this new press, the inkjet technology, because our customers were growing faster than we could keep up with them until we got the new press, which is now we're all growing together. It's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could just ask a quick follow-up, you mentioned the beverage segment, and that's one that's been really interesting to watch blossom over the last few years. We think so much about craft beer and things like that, but it's really moved into so many different segments of the beverage market. So, if I could just ask a follow-up there and ask, what are some of the things that that segment is really utilizing digital for? I'd love to get some of your experiences there. I imagine it's a great opportunity to help them reduce inventories and maybe try out some new flavors and styles with that, real nimble aspect of digital. So yeah, could we dive into the beverage section a little bit more? I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
I've been looking at some of the slides that were put together, and I saw the increase in the alcoholic drinks in the beverage area, and I just had to laugh to myself because I know personally I've seen that segment just grow in the past year alone. That and hand sanitizer for obvious reasons. The beverage segment is interesting because it's a lot of word of mouth when it comes to the smaller beverage companies. We bring on new beverage companies it seems like every 3 or 4 weeks. Small runs, medium-sized runs, and again, we grow with them. As their runs get longer, we now have the print capacity to keep up with them.
Excellent. Perfect. And yeah, you mentioned the hand sanitizer, and there was, over the last year, definitely a lot of crossover between those segments with some of the craft distilleries really moving in that direction and relying on digital printing to really shift. You might have been printing a vodka label before, but now we need, quickly a hand sanitizer label. So yeah, definitely a lot of crossover there.
Situation, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Perfect. So, since Line Label brought Inkjet technology on board, what are some of the key things that the company has been able to accomplish with the technology? Anything that you may not have been able to do before? Or, yeah, just, thinking about some of the accomplishments that you've had with the TruePress and Inkjet technology. Yeah, what are some of the things that stand out?
The biggest thing I'm seeing is that area between going flexo for certain runs and going with our previous toner-based machine. That was a kind of a firm line now. Now it's very much, I'm pulling work off flexo on a regular basis. Now that the speed is there, the quality is there, we're running 6-color process with orange and blue, same way here, orange and blue. And so we're able to hit a lot more of those spot colors than we were on the previous device. And it's just speed. Really, number one is speed. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you mentioned some of, the Flexo platform as well. But are there any opportunities that you've been able to achieve that may not have been feasible with a conventional platform? Anything stand out there that you've been able to do that, really lent itself to digital specifically and, just may not have been a feasible job on a conventional platform?
Just the multiple SKUs, really.
Yeah.
We do have customers that will come out with a few different products and expand their product line, and for us to keep up with that, and on a Flexo side, it'd be a bit cumbersome.
Right. Absolutely. So, it sounds like, it's something that, like a lot of companies that have been able to utilize both platforms, Line Label's been able to really kind of balance jobs between technologies and kind of use them as complementary assets. Is that something that you guys are seeing?
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect. And then just kind of looking ahead, are there any future opportunities that you're eyeing for Inkjet? And how do you see the technology playing a role in the company's future?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I see us just expanding our capacity. Again, as we grow with our customers, as we find new customers, we're going to need more print capacity and more converting capacity, which we've invested in. The sky's the limit, really, right now with this technology.
Perfect. Absolutely. And actually, if I can just ask a quick follow-up there, Paul, as we're talking about the technology and how you've been able to implement it, something kind of popped up in my head in a conversation that we've had here, at the magazine and some of our coverage of the industry, in terms of how you're able to educate customers and brand owners around the technology and around digital. It seems like, a lot of brand owners out there are really starting to kind of get the wheels turning about what it can do for them. But in a lot of cases, I think, there still are a lot of brands out there that might not be fully aware of all the advantages that digital printing and inkjet printing in particular can bring to them. So, I was just kind of curious, I'd love to learn a little bit about how, you're able to help communicate to some customers and some brands about, what digital can do for them, and how you really present it as an advantage that and new opportunities that they can utilize.
It's really the short run capability of the machine.
Yeah.
Some newer customers, some emerging customers would have a lot of other things to think about their actual product, their packaging, things that we provide them, and they're on their sales side. So if we're able to get them to get their product to market a little bit faster, and do shorter runs for them, and then grow with them, it's be advantageous for both parties.
Perfect. And just another quick follow-up. We've got the wheels turning here. Are customers, approaching you guys and kind of asking about some of the creative aspects? The short run definitely is a huge advantage, but thinking about some of the creative aspects of digital, as far as an inkjet, as far as some of the versioning or limited edition stuff. Are they thinking in that direction at all, and maybe asking a little bit more about that? Just kind of wondering about the creative side as well.
No, we really haven't hit that yet.
Okay.
We're really just keeping up with the growth of our current customers, and
yeah.
When we run into them, we do have the capability to do variable personalized runs. Screen to set us up with that. And I have years of experience doing that. I get to apply it to the label, my label printer, but certainly.
Cory,
yes.
If this is Mark, and I could just input something there. So
sure.
If you can hear me, yeah. So certainly in some other markets where screen has played, commercial print, direct mail, what we saw as Inkjet came online is that the print providers. There was a gate to clear where they worked with customers on shifting work from conventional to digital. Digital was just different. The appearance was different. The technology was changing rapidly, and image quality was coming on so fast that there was a preconceived notion in those markets, commercial print, direct mail, publishing. There was a preconceived notion that Inkjet wasn't high quality. We achieved high quality with the technology before the market's perception caught up. But I think in this market, and I would pose this as somewhat of a question to Paul, I don't see that at all in this market. That the image quality, the substrate latitude, the ability to address a variety of substrates is in many cases superior to Flexo and more than equal even on offset. I haven't seen that challenge in this market. So the question to Paul would be, are you even talking to your customers about, we might print your job conventional, we might print it digital? You guys have had digital maybe longer than other print providers, but do you even have that conversation? Or is it more a matter of line label has the right tool to solve the problem that the customer is trying to solve, be it short run, be it time to market? Do you even have to have the conversation around we're printing it digital versus conventional?
No, that conversation comes up during the print runs. If these lengths start to increase, it becomes better for us to run Flexo than we would in that regard. But as far as the quality is concerned, we've had customers that we printed Flexo, and we printed on a toner-based device, and we produced the same work on the new screen press. They've commented without solicitation, like, "Wow, this looks fantastic." So there really isn't, the quality isn't in my opinion, it's not a topic of conversation, because it really is great quality. And it's a lot of the artifacts that you may see Flexo introduce that they simply don't exist on the TruePress.
Right. Thank you.
Perfect. Excellent. Great. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for that look into line label and your experience with inkjet technology. It's always great to get some perspectives from the printers out there that have really made the most of this technology. And yeah, it sounds like line label is doing some really great things. So just looking at the time here, we've got about 15 minutes to go. So I do want to move into some audience Q&A. We have some great questions that have rolled in here for both of our panelists, for Mark and for Paul as well. So yeah, I'd love to get you guys to weigh in on some of these audience questions. So first question, Mark, I'll send this one to you. I think there's more of a question on your end here, but let's see. So what improvements to ink have been made in the last few years that are beneficial to label printers? So yeah, I'll throw that over to you. And yeah, thinking about labels specifically, yeah, what have been some of the improvements on the ink side?
In label printing, even a year ago and coming up, even now, some today. So a label printer today, if they don't have inkjet today, the first thing they have to really start thinking about is the ink platform, right? Because there's a variety of solutions. Are they going to go aqueous, or are they going to go UV? That's going to drive some decisions in the kind of products that they can print and some of the finishing requirements that they're going to have to do. UV, of course, is not as conducive for food and beverage packaging as aqueous products. There's definitely some developments in that. So we have a low migration ink for those kind of solutions, but you're still not going to be doing direct contact packaging. So to answer your question, ink developments that are coming, there is definitely development in what I would call the platform for the ink, which would be an aqueous platform. Drying technology, photo initiator technology is going to enable the ability to print more and more aqueous-based or water-based inks to all kinds of packaging. You're going to be able to get the same durability with aqueous-based inks that require UV today, or certainly in the toner world might require coating or even lamination post-print. So like everything in the printing industry, the quality continues to drive. Digital inks or inkjet inks the colors are. The pigments are more pure, less contaminants than maybe conventional inks. So Paul mentioned with their press, they have the orange and the blue. Certainly with color matching software ability and then the expanded gamuts that you get with the fifth and sixth inks, you're able to hit brand colors that would have required spot color inks before. But more importantly, I would say, is what's happening in the composition of the inks. So the components that enable that ink to dry, and then the drying technology, whether it's a combination of conventional drying or more advanced drying that might be infrared, might be UV, might be photo initiators. You're going to see aqueous inks across more platforms, including durable labels.
Absolutely. Perfect. And I'll actually present a version of that question to Paul. You mentioned the quality that you guys are getting out of the inkjet. And yeah, Mark mentioned that, there's some really, great quality pigments in the inks and things like that. So, thinking about line labels and the quality that you guys are getting, how much of an advantage has that been to be able to really, replicate the high quality that brands are, maybe accustomed to on conventional platforms, and really being able to utilize those advantages or utilize the digital advantages, but not sacrifice any quality at all in terms of print output? Just how has that been advantageous to Lion?
To be able to achieve an initial degree of quality that's acceptable to the customer is one thing, which we have been able to do. But the repeatability on the machine is fantastic. A lot of the large areas like light colors, pastel colors, for example, they've been difficult on a toner-based machine. And even large areas of subtle colors that were on the Flexo machines may be a little substandard, but we do our best. But on this machine here is unbelievable. It's great.
Absolutely. Perfect. So this is a question that actually came in for Paul. So Paul, we'll stick with you on this. And this is actually a question that was kind of in my mind as well, as we kind of think a little bit about some of the, labor challenges out there in the industry, which I know has impacted label and packaging across the board. What in some of the reporting that we've done, it really seems like, prospective employees and new employees entering the workforce have been really eager to dive into digital platforms and really utilize some of the high-tech computer-based capabilities that digital provides. So yeah, this question for Paul is, do your employees like running the digital press? more, it says more than the old style, which I'm assuming is referring to conventional. I don't know if we need to do a compare and contrast, but yeah, how have your employees reacted to running the digital? Has it been something that they've been eager to get their hands on and try and really master? Yeah, I'd love to just get your perspective on that and how the staff has reacted to being able to operate digital equipment.
Yeah, there's been interest in going from the Flexo over to the digital side. Again, the learning curve on the toner-based devices can be a little steep, but let's just say this new machine is a lot more friendly, a lot more approachable in order to get what you need out of the machine. I come from I'm more of a sheet fed guy. When I first started this business, I was doing neg plate stuff. Direct plate material, a lot of pre-press, some print management, and to be able to apply all that to this machine and to what I do here is a huge advantage. But as far as going from Flexo to this, the transition from Flexo to this machine here wouldn't be a problem at all.
Right. Absolutely. Perfect. So Mark, for you, just being so involved in the digital print and digital packaging world, is that something that you're seeing as well in the market, that employees are really eager to get their hands on digital and really try it out, as far as maybe new members to the workforce coming into the industry? Is that something that you're seeing on your end?
People, people always ask, who's my best candidate for an operator? Is it the traditional Flexo operator, or is it more the pre-press side? And you're driving these presses off tablets, off iPads. If you can, the most physical part of it is loading substrate, and from there it's really driven by a digital interface. The printing industry in general has, it's been difficult to appeal to the younger worker. They really see it as, that they see ink underneath the fingernails, right? And they see it as manufacturing. But what we're seeing in not just the label and packaging world, but certainly, and this has happened in the direct mail and commercial world, is that print is one part of the multi-channel or omni-channel experience, and that is just going to expand to packaging. So companies are positioning themselves more as technology companies. I mean, print providers literally are positioning themselves as technology companies, because you're going to have to start to need some of that expertise coming out of the e-commerce or the digital world. So, Paul and his team, as they get into color variable, they're going to need the young workers who have experience web developing or social media platforms, because they're going to have to be combining data that their customer has with print streams to produce personalized print for packaging. It's just one example. So it's not only digital is seen as clean and green, which is appealing to the younger workforce, but it's also requiring more technical capabilities because the presses are run just like computers, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. As far as navigating yourself around the machine, interacting with the different components of the machine, having that knowledge or that base is extremely important. And it can be intimidating for maybe someone who hasn't been exposed to that type of technology.
Right. Even compared to toner, there's just, with inkjet, there is just fewer consumables and fewer, to zero moving parts, right? It's just that head and it's the substrate. And
it's
so
the lack of contact on certain surfaces on the toner-based machine.
Exactly. There is no contact.
So many different imaging surfaces, and you're going to have to replace those. It's part of regular maintenance. And
right.
I'm again the format, the types of stock, the width stocks I can run out, the types of stocks, and the lack of regular maintenance. I mean, not regular maintenance, the lack of, and compared to the toner-based machine is just
right.
I'm still running the toner-based machine. I keep my attention on that one, but when I set my true press, it's in the zone, and I keep an eye on it. But it's not. It doesn't scream "help me" all the time.
Yeah. I've even seen, in some cases, it could almost be a disadvantage for the traditional operator to come into inkjet because and I want this to sound the right way, right? But there can be the ability with certainly flexible machines or conventional print, and then in the toner world, to overthink what you need to do to kind of squeeze out consistent, repeatable quality. With inkjet technology, you really want to rely on what the manufacturer has done, because that is going to produce the most consistent, reliable quality. So that operator who's like overthinking it can be a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. Absolutely. Excellent. Yeah, that's, great to hear that it has provided that, that good kind of, opportunity for people to get into the industry and do some exciting things in print and packaging. So that's fantastic that you guys are seeing that trend as well. So it looks like we have time for maybe one or two more. Apologies that we won't get to everyone's question. We've got a lot coming in here, but I did want to touch on this one that came in, talking about a exciting packaging format in particular that we really haven't covered too much yet. So Mark, I'm going to send this question to you. And it's about shrink films, shrink sleeves. So the question is, what are the limits on shrink films on inkjet? And, if there are limits, are there changes that may be happening soon to change that?
So shrink is about not only the flexibility of the material, but the flexibility of the image on that material once you print the image to the substrate. So today, shrink in inkjet is going to be limited to more of the aqueous technologies. But in those aqueous technologies, you're going to need to, those are usually more constructed materials or laminated constructions. It's just more complicated. Certainly UV is going to be limited to what it can do with strength, because we're curing with heat and light. And once you cure that ink, it just loses some of its flexible properties. I would say flexible for UV today is more about contours as opposed to a pure flexible package. So you'll see pouches, which would fall under the category of flexible, but certainly is not what you might think of when you see a completely wrapped package with a label. Shrink going forward for us is exactly what the PackJet is. The Pack 830 is targeted at aqueous inks, the drying technology that is not harmful to the substrates itself. So you will see in inkjet very quickly full shrink capabilities. You do have those capabilities today in the toner world. The toners are the toner images are much more flexible, but you just don't have the throughput or the run length and toner to do large run shrink. So
I just had a quick question over here on the somebody had asked 6 colors, CMY, K, and OB. What about white? Yes, we do have white installed. Yep. So we do print on clear.
Yeah, I should have talked about functional inks, which would include white in the digital world. Huge improvements have happened in white ink, in particular, the ability to gain flexible opacities with single pass, which is what you need. So we'll continue to see white ink improve, but it's made such a leap today from what people they might associate in their head with inkjet white, which was more yellow in the past on some platforms than it is today, which is a very opaque, very rich, very pleasing white.
Perfect. Excellent. Absolutely. Well, it looks like we are actually just about out of time for today. So unfortunately, we weren't able to make it to everyone's questions, but thank you so much to everyone for sending in Q&A. And Mark and Paul, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today for this conversation and this exciting look into what is happening in the world of inkjet in terms of labels and packaging. This was some fantastic information. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
So on behalf of absolutely. On behalf of packaging impressions, printing impressions, and screen, to everyone in the audience, I want to thank you for attending today's webinar. Please be sure to check out our webinar page to get information on all of our archives and upcoming webinars. And if you would take just a minute to fill out the brief feedback survey that will appear on your screen next, we would be grateful. Your feedback will influence the webinars that we bring you in the future, and I hope to see you at the next Impressions Group webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Great.
Thank you.